Sometimes a revolution starts in silence, not in a lab, not in a stadium, but in the mind of someone who sees the potential before the world does. Before Norway changed the world, the triathlon world, there was nothing. No system, no structure, no heroes. And then came one man, Arild Tveiten. He isn't just a coach, he built a culture, a philosophy that turns courtesy into science and science into belief. Today, I want to understand where it all began, how a small country created a global standard, and what it really means to rise champions. Not by control, but maybe by trust. This is the story of the father of Norwegian triathlon, a story about vision, patience, and the art of human potential. Rework. So, first of all, we have so many questions, and at the end, I think we have no answers, but we know that the questions are more important than the answers, especially what's going on in Norway. We hear a lot about the Norway system. So, Arild, I would like to start at the beginning with you. So, what's going on and who you are? I think this is the biggest question.
Okay. First, Alexander, nice to be here and nice to be able to talk a little bit about what's going on. I do think we need to start a little bit from the start and the background. Okay, first of all, me, I'm a Norwegian guy. Starting as an athlete, as a swimmer, start doing triathlon myself when I was 16. We are now talking back in 1987. So that was like the really long time before, like many of the listeners actually was born. I was, of course, triathlon was extremely small sport at that time in Norway, but I was training alone and enjoying the time, and I was in one way pretty decent in triathlon. Like I did some European Championship. I was number 13, I think, in the European Junior Championship. I did my first Ironman, which was actually the Porterstoff Ironman in Austria when I was 22.
Yeah.
93.
Okay.
I did in 93.
93, yeah.
Yeah. Just to see how the distance was. And actually that is still my best time on the Ironman distance. 8 hours, 51 minutes. It's like, of course, a decent time, but compared to what I do today, it's kind of embarrassing time. But I enjoyed it.
What time was it?
8 hour 51 minute, I do think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I lead the Porterstoff to maybe around 15K on the run, and then I like really
very cool.
very like blow up. So, but anyway, it was a nice experience, and I actually been there one time later in 2020 when it was the COVID time for the special event. Which they organized for the Norwegian team back then. So, anyway, it's a lot of good memories. But anyway, I was doing triathlon myself. That was the point. I was not like really good. And I did some Ironman. I was qualified for Hawaii. Did it 5 times. The first time in 97 as a pro. Okay, I was not good, but I was still qualified there.
And you had the fire, or you had the fire.
Yeah, I had a fire, but it was difficult to combine triathlon with to try to be professional, because I always had a job on the side and stuff like that. So more and more, I was more a typical age grouper, I would say. So not a really good one, but I was like qualified for Hawaii. And I started in 2005 a little bit with coaching on the side. My job at that time was actually I was working for the company called Polar, heart rate monitors. So I got more interested in the background of using heart monitor for training, intensity control, and stuff like that. So I started doing some coaching on the side at that time. That is 20 years ago. That was mainly for age groupers who want to do triathlon. Triathlon was still a very small sport in Norway, so I spend more time coaching athletes, doing cycling races, running races, marathon, and stuff like that. But I kind of enjoyed that, and I was still doing a little bit races and Ironman or triathlon for myself. And then in 2009-10, it was going a kind of a shift in Norway where it was apparent to one young athlete who want to do something with a new generation of triathletes in Norway. And so he more or less invited young athletes who want to do triathlon or have to test triathlon to join on a camp. And after a while, I was asked if I can come there and to see if I could help a little bit, because since I was still one of the best triathletes in the country, because the level was pretty shit. And
and with a lot of experience,
Yeah, and I had a lot of starting to get a kind of experience, and then was like, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I want to get involved in this, because this is just young athletes talking about doing short distance, and I really think that Ironman is the thing and stuff like that. But then they asked me again and said, can't you just be 1 week in the camp to meet some of the new athletes, see what you think, and if you like it, maybe we can find a solution. And then I met them. It's actually in October 2010, which is actually 15 years ago. And I met what was supposed to be kind of the Norwegian youth national team. And in that camp at that time, it was like Christian Brummelfeldt was there, Gustav Iden was there, his elder brother Mikael Iden, who's now the head coach for the Norwegian triathlon. They were there, but like athletes like Kasper Stornes, Solveig Løvseth, and some of the others were not there. But it was many of them, which is kind of famous name, was at that camp. And some of them was totally new to triathlon. And Christian had tried a little bit racing, not much, and he was like maybe the most promising one. Gustav Iden at that time, he was really shit in swimming, so he was not especially good at that. But I've said it many times that at that camp, that time in 2010, it was 15 athletes. It was not the best 15 young athletes in Norway. It was the only one Norway Triathlon had. And that is a big difference compared to many other countries. And I look at the picture of the group picture we took at that camp. Beside us, we have some of the volunteers, some of the parents who was there. It was Christian Brummelfeldt. It was Gustav Iden. It was Lotte Miller, who actually qualified for 2 Olympics. And we also had Mikael Iden as a coach. No, he was an athlete there. So out of these 15, we actually ended up having 3 in the Olympics, and one become a head coach for the national team many years later. And two of these 3 have won Ironman World Championship, and 17.3 and an Olympic gold. So it's kind of successful kind of group. Of course, we didn't know that at that time, but so anyway, so that was the group, and I was still like, oh, this is pretty cool, but I'm not sure what I want to do or if I want to get involved. And they said to me, but please, can you just try working what we think is the best athletes, this Christian Brummelfeldt. Can you just try to work with him and see if you are able to do something with him, and if you enjoy working with young athletes, training for shorter distance. And I said, okay, I can try. And I do think that we find a kind of a good way to work together and communicate together. And he started to have pretty good result quickly. And during that season, after that was 2011, I was asking, but why don't you join the federation as the sport director and work with some of the other athletes too? And I was like, okay, yes, I'm ready to do that. The little bit challenge at that time, it was just a 50% position I was offered. My wife at that time, no, my ex-wife, she was pregnant and was giving birth to twins. So, but it was still a lot of big decisions to be made in my life. But I actually decided to go for it. So I said no to a good full-time job. Said yes to a part-time job as a sport director in the Norwegian Triathlon Federation. My ex-wife and me, we're having small kids at home, twins, and it was just kind of a crazy decision to do. But I saw something in the athletes that I really want to spend time and invest time in. So it started from there, and I saw from day one that if I'm just a sport director and try to organize how we work and send them out on camps with other coaches, we will not have any result. I need to actually be the coach for them too, because I already started working with Christian. So yes, my role was sport director, but I would say that I was 90% coach and 10% sport director.
I think this is the best sport director ever.
Yeah. So I think that was a pretty good decision to be made. And then of course a part of that, it was like, yes, I have experience by coaching athletes, but that was age grouper. There were athletes who want to do an Ironman or 70.3 or longer distance. And now I supposed to work with young athletes. I was supposed to lead them to a path leading to qualification for the Olympics. Remember, at that time, it was not like you in Austria, that you have an Olympic champion or even have athletes going to the Olympics. In triathlon in Norway had never ever had anyone been close to qualify for the Olympics. The federation was brand new in the way of thinking about getting athletes to qualify for Olympics. Before I come in, the federation in triathlon in Norway want to build up winter triathlon, which is a sport that you can count on one hand in the world athletes who do it. It's just a minor, stupid little sport activity for crazy people living up north. So that was for sure not the future, but it was a board change, a new board in the federation. They want to put effort into young athletes, and they were like really good. They said, "Oh, we want to invest money in you. We want to invest money in the athletes, even when we didn't have any result." And I'm like really grateful that I had the chance to do that, and I honestly believe that if I just started doing a good job, we will also get more funding, and with more funding, we can develop this further. So within the first year, we were getting funding so I can work full time. We get more funding so we can go more on training camp. And in that period, I also for sure have started to think a lot about if I should be a coach for them. I need to do something and coach them in a way that is make a difference, because I was really clear from the beginning that I really want the athletes to be the best in the world. I want to work with highest positive attitude that we want to achieve that dream. We want to see if we can produce the best athletes in the world. And then, of course, that challenged myself as a coach to say, okay, how can I produce these results? How can I get the best athletes out of them. How should I coach them? Which way of training should we do? With philosophy? And at that time, of course, Norway was really bad in triathlon, which I have said many times. But it was a lot of countries with really good results. You, of course, the big country, Australia, US, France, GB. And everyone said, look to what I do. You need to see what I do in these countries. And I was thinking, I'm not sure that's the best way. I think
why?
No, it's kind of crazy, and I'm very often question myself, how could I have that confidence that I actually thought that I could come up with something that was better the other countries did. So the one main thing I was thinking that, okay, if I just took what I do, let's say in Australia, I would just try to make a good copy of what I do. A copy is never as good as the original. And I very early did understand that, but it's not that people in Norway are different than anyone else, but some of the conditions we have for training during a year is a little bit more challenging than in some other countries. Long winter, you cannot go outside on the bike and stuff like that. So I need to find a way that fits into the environment we had in Norway, and also learn and then I find I need to learn from what we have done in Norway in other endurance sports. So I looked in what I have done in Norwegian rowing, of course, cross-country skiing. At that time, we had some like really good marathon runners. We had a really good 5,000 meters runners who's like really into the science of training. And I was able to see what I did, read what I have done, and try to put it into a way of coaching the athletes, which I thought could work in triathlon. And I also know that I was pretty lucky because not everything we did in the beginning was perfect. We did a lot of mistakes, but we didn't did any like really big mistakes. But I had the first year I had Christian Blumenfeld. He was an athlete where what I did with training with him, he tolerated it. It was no matter what, and I was doing a really high volume with him pretty early. But then Gustav came in, Lotte Miller came in, Mikael Iden came in, and also we have a lot of other athletes. Jørgen Gundersen was one who were kind of young, but they could not handle the kind of volume that Christian did. So I need to balance the training differently with Christian, but I also learned a lot from the athletes. That was the point. Even if they were 15, 16 years at that time, they were like very open to everything. Remember, they had never had any triathlon coach in their life before. So in the beginning, no matter what I say, no matter what I did,
they trust you.
They trust you, because they didn't know about it. There could be a different way, a different path. They didn't know.
You too, or because you don't even know it's going good or not, or?
Yeah, of course. It was pretty early, going pretty well. So it was like we need to trust the process and the way we did it. So also one of the big things is I was very early say to them that the way we work now, you have the possibility to be the best in the world. If you just want to do it, if you're patient and work consistently over time, we will get there. And I do think that one of the things that also I was lucky with or good at was that I was able to convince them that what we did was the best training in the world. And we did something that the other didn't do at the same level. And maybe they were naive and I was naive, but because I'm not sure that we actually did so much better work than the rest of the world, but I know that what we did was a good work. And but everyone started believing it. I believed in it, and I also used myself as an example. As I said to you, I was young athlete. I was going to European Championship and stuff like that. But when I was young and want to take the next step in triathlon, I said to myself that I live in cold Norway. I can never be as good as the rest of the world. We don't have so much money, the government support or sponsorship to do what we want to do. So it's impossible for us to be good. So that was also one of the main things that me as an athlete have that approach. And that was my biggest limiter to achieve anything in triathlon. So I also said when I started working with triathletes that I will never be like that. So therefore I was very clear that we can be as good as anyone. We can be the best in the world. We have no limitation in Norway. We can do whatever we want, and we will be as good as we want. No limit.
I think this is the point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that is one of the key things. And the athletes believed it. I believed in it for sure. And that was what we were slowly building a foundation, slowly getting results. And the more results you get, the more you start believing in it. And then it's just getting stronger and stronger until I would say that it's a lot of turning points where everyone thought that, wow, we are on the right path. And it's a lot of small milestones on the way. Christian was already in 2012. He was number 4th in the Junior Worlds. Of course, there we show that this is possible. Leading up to that Junior World Championship, who was in New Zealand, we were invited by the World Triathlon Federation to a development camp for a small developing country. So we should learn from the best country how to coach in triathlon. And I was there, and we were like very quiet, and we saw all the big stars and big names, and what should we do there? But already after 2-3 days, I was like, we cannot train like they do. We need to do something extra, because I don't think this is really good training. So
I love it. What was different? What was the different? What to say? No, we do something other things or different.
It was a lot of small things. I must say that. Okay, so one thing that was different, that a little bit about the intensity. It was like when they're doing intensity work, it was like really, really hard. We want to be a little bit more controlled. That's one little thing. I must say that our training in many ways is like really, really basic. If you should go for a run, you go out and run. But there, it was a lot of time doing drills and warm-ups, procedure. That the running session itself. Yeah, it was a lot. It's not that always a waste of time, but if you have 1 hour, you can do a run. So why don't you run an hour instead of doing 30 minutes drills and then running 30 minutes? I do think in the end it makes a difference, but of course, it's not that technical work and drills is not important. It's always important, but sometimes that could be been weighted too much, that you put too much emphasis on this, and then you forgot the basic.
Of course. I think this is a very big point. I think this is a very big point.
Yeah, and that is, I do think that we were really good on doing the basic well. Do the basic and do the basic really well. And then, of course, we have the intensity control. I really believe in, and also at that time believe that most of the intensity we do in training is more like based on anaerobic threshold, altitude, whatever you call it, and not so much like pure anaerobic work or VO2 max work.
From where comes that? So you have your own experience and train too hard, and you see that on your own and say, hey, with my kids, I wouldn't do that, something like that, or
yes, it was an experience, and that is It was too many things I saw at that time. One thing is like was she said that I was reading some studies about that was actually in rowing about Norwegian rowing, and they were measuring the VO2 max. How high was the VO2 max? And then we saw they were having a really big training block. That was a study that lasted a few years, where we saw that the athletes, okay, what's actually give you higher VO2 max is actually more training, not more intensity training. So I actually said that, okay, if you control the intensity a little bit better, you can do higher volume, and with higher volume, you get the VO2 max. It's very common to say that you need to do pure VO2 max training to increase your VO2 max. But what you need to actually have a higher VO2 max is actually mostly doing higher volume, low intensity work and balance that with control intensity.
Because you can do more and longer, or at the end.
Yes, in the end you do more and longer. So one of the things we did with athletes was also that the training in volume they did when they were young was, I would say in many ways, not insanely high, but it was really high compared to what other countries did at that time. Because it's more common to, when you're young, it's more common to say, oh, we want to develop the speed, we want to develop the VO2 max. We do the volume thing step by step over a longer period of time.
Yeah, especially after short distance, or especially
at the short distance. And you also see that all the distance you do when you have races for young athletes is like super sprints. Of course, you want to develop the speed, and that's nothing wrong with that. But if you do that, in my view, if you do that too much and too much focus on that, you will develop pretty quickly and be pretty good pretty quickly, but then you will stagnate, and you have lost some years with really good training and volume in training. And maybe someone will kill you with me, but this country who have a focus on doing development of the athletes that way, you will never see this country winning Ironman World Championship as the level is today, because the athletes is missing a big foundation when they are young. Of course, as a federation, you can say, what's the point of coaching an athlete to win an Ironman, because it's all about the Olympics. And of course, when I started with athletes, it was never about the Ironman at all. It was just about how to develop the athletes to have the endurance and the speed to be capable of winning an Olympic medal and be the best in the world in short distance. That was our goal. But I saw when we had worked a few years that the training we did, they made it pretty suitable to also do 70.3 races. So we actually started to put in some 70.3 races for some of the best athletes when they were like pretty young. I do think that Gustav Iden won his first Ironman 17.3 when he was 19. But just because of the training we did to be best at the Olympic distance. So I do think that is one of the really big difference. The volume we did when we were young, the more control intensity, not so much focus on VO2 max training, because as I said, we have seen from other studies that the VO2 max was increasing if you just did the volume. And that is actually what we also have data on, is that these athletes, they were going to the lab when they were 15 years old, and we have data from both Gustav, Kasper, Christian, from 15, 16 years old until where they are now. And we can have seen that the develop of the VO2 max has been from the low 70s to high 90s, or at least above 90 for all of them over time. And it's not that they did a lot of intensity work when they were young. They did a lot of volume when they were young. And I know that is very different. That is very common to say how you should work with young athlete. And I do think the way we did it was a really good way, and also very sustainable way. It's very easy to say, of the high volume, the killed athletes, they will be burnout, they will be overtrained, they will be injured and everything. But what we actually see, that they barely get injured, very few cases of overtraining, and if that has been the case, it's always a combination with other things. So then we come to the big picture, is that it's been very sustainable over time. And for me, for an athlete, let's say you are running threshold intervals, you're doing, let's say, 12K of threshold intervals where you're running at the pace, I just say 3:15 to 3:20 per K. It's a pretty okay pace, but it's not like extremely hard. And maybe for the athletes when they're fit, they maybe have lactate around 2.5. Many of their competitors, they will maybe do 5 to 6 times 1,000, and they're running at 250 pace. For me, for sure, the risk of injury is much higher when you're running so fast compared to being a little bit more controlled.
And also, the recovery is longer. The recovery is also longer. When you train harder, you have more. You need more time for recovery. So
yes, of course, longer recovery. Yes, recovery time is longer. It costs more for the body, and also if you see the workload you actually do to your body compared to do a longer threshold session, if you just count the heartbeat you do, maybe you do the altitude threshold session, maybe the heart rate average is 10-15% beat lower compared to doing the VO2 max, but you do it more than double as long time. So of course your heart is working much longer and is beating many
longer
more beats.
Harder,
yeah, longer. And so in the end, the training load you get, in my view, is better and more sustainable over time. But of course, I know that it's different approach, and different coaches do it differently. But and also that I know that VO2 max training is a part of a progression and a good training program, but it's always when to do it at which time. So, and then we are going back to the start again. That I do think one of the things that I most proud of, that I established a way to work with the athletes and train the athletes, which is very different than most of the work I did. But I was confident enough to just trust it and stay at it and continue doing it to the end, and not changing the program or changing the system, because in the first years, everyone said that what we did was wrong. And
of course, when you do new things, and it's always the same. It's always the same,
yeah, always the same. And I have, of course, I will not mention anything, but there was a lot of talk about some big training groups, very well internationally known coaches who are talking about the stupid Norwegian that will blow up, that will soon stop, there will be injury, there will be burnout, and that as I hearing that in 2017, 18, 19 the first time, and even if I'm not like daily involved in the coaching to the athletes, the best we have from Norway now, I do think we can say that they've still been able to progress after that, and having a really good career as they doing the training they do it now.
Yeah. Awesome. So when I hear everything, it's very, very clear. And at the end, what you say, too much details and more on the basics. And I think when I can share my view, how I see that, I think you are the father of triathlon in Norway. And when we look at the father or the mother, they don't want that the kids are destroyed. So they want to have a long life, a healthy life. So, and I think that is what you did with triathlon, with the training system. So not too hard, but train a lot and be motivated, be disciplined, have a discipline at the end. And I think this is the most important thing at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
My question is, you said that a lot of people say, "Oh, this is not a good idea. Do other things or not that thing. What you think you do." You told that. Why you be on this path?
No, it is because I honestly believe that the way we did it was the best way
And
to do it.
why you did it? Why you? That's the big question,
No,
or?
yeah, no, yeah, yes. So why? Of course, my for me in the beginning, I was employed to make athletes who can qualify for the Olympics, and of course that was kind of a big goal, but it is all about the athletes. Even if you talk to the athletes today, of course, it's not always what to say, that everyone is happy with everything we do, and it's been hard times, a lot of hard times. But I always, it's never about me or the result in it. It's always about what I can do to get the best of the athletes and make them to be good people in a way. And I do think they do see that I really care for them. Even if we did a lot of training, we tried to create an environment that we did it because we wanted to do it. It was fun doing it. And I do think that all the athletes who's been involved in the national team over the year, they will always remember the great memories when we're sitting hours for hours after lunch and dinner and talking, the good training session we did, all the laugh. And it's for me, it's always about them. And I did what I did because in the beginning, before I started, and I was a little bit thinking, should I do that job or not? It was then I just look at it as a job. Should I do this job compared to another job? But then I met the athletes and get to know them. It's more like the passion I had to do something, make a difference for them, create a future for them. And it was always about the bigger things, about, yeah, you said we want to be the best in the world. It's not because I want them to be the best in the world. Of course, I said that I want them to be the best in the world, but it was always about creating the environment where the athletes can achieve their dreams. They were willing to, and also understand the consequences of the big dreams I have of doing what is needed to do with the discipline, the hard work, and the dedication, and the whole that environment to be a part of that is like that's worth it. It's not a. Of course, in the end, you get a result. In the end, you get an Olympic gold, and afterwards, I win some Ironman races. But yes, it's important, but that's just a product of everything you have done over the years. And it is the process over the years that's been the most important thing. And it's always with the athletes in mind and the athletes in the center. It's never been about the reputation for me, the reputation for the federation or anything. It's all about the athletes.
Yeah. And at the end that you create a family, I think, and make room for them, and always, or also as a safe room at the end, that then trust yourself, trust me, and then we can go very, very, very far away or high, whatever. Like a father or a mother. It's very, very, very interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think you said at the beginning that you feel something in these athletes when you saw it or saw them. You can explain that, or just was it a feeling and said to you something is there, and I feel that you have the potential for triathlon, and I help them for growing at the end.
Yeah. No. That's important thing, because I also said many times the athletes we had in the beginning, they will likely not pass any talent ID program in any national federation in triathlon in the whole world. Maybe one or two exceptions, but I saw something beyond what they were producing in time and splits at that time. I saw a dedication. I saw athletes who wanted to go the extra mile, athletes who wanted to do the hard work. And at the first time, we were talking about really young athletes. The first camp when I met them, like Gustav Iden, he was 15 years old. And he was in many ways a little kid, but in the way he trained, and he was really mature, and he was like really good feeling of what he wanted to do. He was clear on his goal. He did understand that, for instance, his swimming at that time was really bad, but he was never complaining about it. He just did what he saw he needed to do to be a better swimmer. And all these athletes, they had a kind of a dedication that was, what I would say, pretty unique. And I like to look at other things than just the result, because in the beginning, since we didn't have so many athletes, if we just should have some tough selection criteria, we likely would have no one on the team. So we actually more or less brought in everyone, of the one who saw was hardworking, had a dedication and the motivation to do what is work. And what I have said many times, that to be a Norwegian triathlon athlete, to be a member of the national team is the easiest thing in the world, because the limit is so low, because we didn't have so many. But the expectation when you were in the team, that was high. That was no compromise. It's just really pure hard work.
That's the right way. That's the right way.
Yeah.
I think I think other countries do the opposite of them.
Yeah. And I do understand that if you are a country when you have hundreds of athletes, or maybe thousands of athletes where everyone say, I want to be the best triathlete in the world, it's really difficult to select a national team based on other things than the criteria, how fast you swim, bike, and run. I do understand that. And it's really difficult. But again, it is possible. I know the high performance director in Norwegian swimming. Swimming is a sport where it's very, very easy to see how good you are, just based on time.
Yes.
It's no excuse, nothing else. But we have incorporated a qualification system for the junior and youth national team based on all other things you need to be good at. And that's a totally change of mindset, because I don't want to have a really good 14 years old girl who are the star in the junior national team or in the junior event.
I think Hungary is a very, very, very good example of that.
Yeah. It's the same. And then we are talking about the long term, because if you just look at pure talent, they are very often really good really early, and then they are finished also really early, or stagnant and can have the development over a longer period of time. Because to produce athletes is also to have the athletes who are willing to do the work over time and just take the time to be really good. It takes time. Okay, so you have a very few really talented, gifted athletes who are like really good in young age, but most of them is just a development over time. And a longer career you get the athletes to have, likely the better they will be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You see, I think when we go to swimming and you told us about triathlon, and you see how they train and they do a lot of details, what is not important, to do the basics. Is this in swimming the same, you think?
Yeah, yes, in many ways it is the same. I do think that is okay.
Just
Swimming
technique.
is a lot
How it
of course.
looks.
Technique is really important, and I recognize it's a big difference in swimming. I said to you that the biggest talent you need to have in triathlon is just a talent to train, but it's not a secret that, let's say, Christian Blumenfeld and Solveig Løvseth, they all came from swimming background. They would never, if they put in the same effort that they now do in triathlon into swimming, they will never be world class in swimming, because in swimming you need to have kind of the talent for the technique and understand what you need to do,
And the feeling for the water.
Feeling for the water. So I need to be honest to say they didn't have that, and of course we see the same in swimming, and the technical part is also very important, is more important, and you're working a lot of the smaller details, but it's still like when I see the training program to some of the swimmers, it's just so complicated with all the strange things that you do in a training session. That
and then you don't know what you did or what they did.
No, it's just too complicated. And I always say, with kind of serious mind, but also with a little bit of fun, you should always respect the swimming program you can write in one line.
Yeah.
So
it's so funny, or?
Yeah.
It is so. I think it's so easy, but we are thinking too complicated at the end.
Yeah, I do think we do, and I do also think that, like the way I also work with triathlon all the time, is like, yes, I make the program, but I need to make it understandable and easy, because a lot of the time the athletes go out by themselves and do the training themselves. So if they should go for 1 hour endurance run or aerobic run, it is simple. Go out and run for 1 hour. But if you are a swimmer, or you are the coach for a swimmer, you are the pool deck, you feel you need to justify why you are there for them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So then you need to find out something that is let the athletes and swimmer think you are kind of a genius.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun to say to them, okay, do a 4K continuous swim and then I come back in 1 hour, because that is maybe for a long distance swimmer a really good session, but it doesn't set you as a coach in perspective that, oh, this is a good coach. But if you mix it up with a hell of a lot of strange things, then the swimmer think, oh, maybe he's a pretty good. But then you forget the basic.
Yeah, of course. And I think that is always the same when someone explain everything and how complex everything is, and then okay, yeah, we do just this the simple things, or yeah. I think this is a little bit a problem in scientists, or when we have scientists and they explain everything very well and can explain why this is so and so and so, and then in the end, okay, we have to do the basics. Sorry, but not be complicated and not about the details. Or it's always the same. What you explain, that the triathletes in the past, what you see in other countries, they about do the details, and also a lot of people think too much. Or of course, on the surface it sounds very smart, very cool, and yeah, he understands the world. But at the end, no, you don't, because it is too complex.
Yeah, it is, and of course, I know that everyone say that the Norwegian method, or whatever you call it, is very scientific and very complicated, but it is still like, the way I did it is always about the basic. But yes, of course, we were kind of accurate about intensity control and have a lot of focus on that. Had the right methodology to determine that by testing lactate. But it's in the end, it's always to make it simple and do the basic right over time.
Yeah,
and I do think that is what I was really good at, and I do think that people think I'm the kind of maybe very scientific approach. Yes, we have a scientific approach to the way we work, and we are very accurate, but it's always about doing the basic, create a good environment, having fun, work together, and that is what I think over time leads to the best result. But of course, you need to use the science so you don't do stupid mistake, and you don't need to do mistake that we know doesn't work because science has proved that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I do think that balance is always really important.
Yeah, I think so. And at the end, that the science explain us what you did, for example, or what makes the athlete so good. Then we can, do it again. Maybe to understand a little bit more what's going on. I think at the end, the training system or the Norway training system is to find the right people to do a lot of work, but not too hard. Not too hard that you kill them. And that have a room for grow. I think that's the best thing what we can learn from this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing, and I think you are the artist, and draw a wonderful picture at the end, and all I would say athletes, coaches in the world look at you and the results at the end.
No, of course I do see that, and it's kind of fun, and I'm really happy to see the athletes who really succeed over the years and producing the result they're doing now. It's more now when I'm more on the sideline, it's like really cool to see, and I know that I played a kind of a big part of that, and but I also like generally it's the athletes, the driving force they have and the willingness to do the training that in the end are responsible for the result. And you see how the three of the Norwegian boys, maybe men now, is how they are training, how they're cooperating together, and they are really getting better, every one of them. They're pushing itself in training, but they are still and the best friends, spending almost every day in the year, single days year together, but are still racing each other when they're doing the race, and if someone else is winning, if one of them is winning, they're all happy for each other. And I do think that when I see that, it's always make me happy that the way they're been creating the environment for themselves now and how they work together now is like, I don't think that would be possible if they came from a different background with different culture, different coach in the beginning. I do think that I played a big role in that, but of course they are the one who are in charge of all the results they've done or the last year themselves.
Yeah, amazing. You did an amazing job. Thanks that you are here in the world and help us.
That's a big thing.
Be a family. Be a family. I think to help us to be a family. I think that's the point at the end. Yeah. Not a fast result and kill people, or help them to grow. Over time.
Yeah, no, it's as I say, I started working with them and get to know them in 2010, and so we're talking about 15 years. So that's more than half their life.
Yeah, so of course, it's a lot. You spent your life. Yeah, you spent your life. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I invested everything I had to create that environment, and of course, even if I'm not like daily involved in it now, I still feel I'm a part of it, and I feel they are like close, and I just love following them and the progress they have, and I'm like really happy, and I'm really happy that the way it worked out. We kind of made everyone who in the triathlon world knows about Norway for sure now, and know where it is, and the results we have done, and yeah, and that's pretty cool and kind of strange to look at, because when I started in the beginning, it was yeah, we were not at that level. It's like kind of a funny story, because you know that it's always hard when you are new, both athlete but also coach in the triathlon family. Of course, everyone is nice, and many of the coaches from different federation, private coaches, like good friends. But in the beginning, it's always the one who have the best result, who talk to each other, and the new coach coming up with no athletes, you are a little bit by yourself until you are getting result, and then you get to know them better, and it's kind of a hierarchy also within the coaching world, and it's a kind of a exciting dynamic how it all works. But what I see, it's triathlon is a big part of my life. It's a big triathlon family.
From the beginning to the end.
Yeah, from the beginning to the end. It's so fun to all the athletes we see racing today. Many of them, of course, I mean racing more or less the whole period that I'm involved in coaching. Many new is coming up. You see many of the same coaches who are still out there putting an extremely hard work every day for their athletes, and not everyone get the result they want and hope for, but they are like really genuine in what they do, and I do see they really care for their athletes and always want the best for them, and yeah, it's a big family, and I'm like really happy to still be a part of it, even if I invest more time in swimming now. But I'm still kind of involved in coaching and coaching some young athletes, and have a good mix of young athletes and more experienced long distance athletes, and it's really important for me. I really want to play a part and play a role in the future for many athletes in triathlon, because that is the sport I love. And as I said from the beginning, I did my first triathlon race when I was 16, and I'm now almost 55. So, of course, I have a long history.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk about it, and very happy that someone listened to me too. So no, it was really nice being here and talking about a little bit of the history and how it was, and yeah.
It's very important. Now the picture is very clear. I think the picture is very clear after this podcast. So thank you for the time.
You're welcome, and nice talking to you.
Sometimes success isn't about knowing more. It's about staying open, passion, and consistent. Arild Tveiten and the Norwegian triathlon story remind us that greatness doesn't come from the best system, but from people who believe and who keep believing, even when no one else does. True progress takes time. You have to build the foundation before you reach the peak. In a world chasing quick results, the real power lies in those who are willing to wait, to grow, and to keep showing up year after year. That's the lesson from Norway. Build, trust, and let time to do its work. I'm Alexander Karif, and this was the story of the father of Norwegian triathlon. Rework.